So let us start our today's topic. It is artifacts in biosignal acquisition. Okay. Yeah. Artifacts means these are actually the different types of noise, right? Now, particularly in our syllabus, I told you many times we are studying about ECG signal and the EEG signal. Okay. Now, while acquiring this ECG signal and the EEG signal, the EEG means electroencephalograph related to our brain. So, what are different types of noise which come across while carrying out this process? So, it is very essential to study the types of noise and how these noises can be removed. Actually, the new removal of noise, it is one advanced topic called as which comes in digital signal processing. In old syllabus it was there, in new syllabus they have removed it, but we are going to study now the different types of noises in case of biomedical signals. Okay, so let us study it one by one. Noises in the ECG and EEG signals are called as artifacts. Artifacts are, as I told, are needed to be removed from the original signal for proper analysis for the physicians. Okay. Otherwise, what happens if the original signal gets corrupted because of some noise signals? Then it becomes difficult for the doctor to give the prescription, or there may be there is a possibility of giving wrong treatment. Okay. The types of noise that can occur during recording are the electrode noise, baseline movement, power line interference, poor contact, machine malfunction, and EMG disturbance. So these type of noises we'll discuss in more details now. What are their causes and what are the effects, how they can be removed. There are different categories, classifications of noise. One of that, it is the persistent noise. So persistent noise, again there are three types: the power line interference, baseline vendor, electromyography noise. Okay. Right now I am not going to explain this because we are going to study one by one these all these noises. So I will just tell you, I will just list out the different types of noises here. Then the other type of noise, it is called as the burst noises. So as the name indicates, persistent noise means it keeps on coming regularly, whereas burst noise, it occurs randomly in the form of some burst. So that's why it is called as the burst noise. Okay. So persistent noise, there are three types: power line interference because of the power supply frequency, baseline vendor, that means the average average of the signal, it gets shifted, the DC level of the signal gets shifted because of certain reasons. Then electromyography noise. Then under burst noises category, we have electrode pop-up noise, or it is also called as the contact noise. Then patient electrode motion artifact, instrumentation noise. Okay. So this is just a broad classification of different types of artifacts in ECG signal. Okay. In case of EEG signal, that means related to brain electroencephalograph, the type of noises are eye blink artifact, then the noise because of the eye movement, because of line noise, because of muscle activity, and because of the pulse, heart pulse artifacts. Okay. So these are, I have just listed the types of noise in case of EEG signal and in case of ECG signal. So let us discuss this one by one. Artifacts in ECG signal. So first we are going to discuss about artifacts or the noise in ECG signal. Okay. So what you see here, this is the ECG signal corrupted with power line interference. So power line interference, it is one type of persistent noise, as we have seen in the list what I have given you in the beginning. Okay, so power line interference, it is actually a supply line frequency of either 50 Hertz or the 60 Hertz depending upon our standards, and this supply line frequency, it gets superimposed on the original ECG signal. So after that, this is what signal you see here, the corrupted signal because of power line interference. The power line interference, it arises due to difference in the electrode impedance and stray currents in cable connected to the patient. So the reason for this power line interference is the difference in electrode impedance and the stray currents in the cable which is connected with the patient. Cables carrying signals from the examination room to the monitoring equipment are prone to electromagnetic interference of frequency 50 Hz or 60 Hz depending upon the line frequency. So this means the main reason for this power line interference, it occurs through the cables which are connected with the patient, because these cables are connected with the equipments, and those equipments are working on the power supply, AC power supply, either 50 Hz or 60 Hz. So because of some reasons, this power line frequency gets superimposed on the ECG signal. Okay, so sometimes the recordings are totally dominated by this type of noise, so it becomes difficult to extract the original ECG or EEG signal. The frequency of the power line interference lies within the range of ECG or EEG signal. Okay, so we have seen earlier the range of ECG and EEG signal, and the power line interference, as we have discussed, it is either 50 Hz or 60 Hz. So it falls in the range of ECG and EEG. So that's why the interference for the, because of this type of signal, it will be more. Power line interference is significant source of noise during biosignal measurement. So because of the above reasons what we have discussed, this power line interference, it is a significant source of noise in case of biosignal measurement, because the major reason is this power line interference frequency, it lies in the same range of ECG and EEG signals. Power line interference can contaminate the ECG recordings due to the differences in electrode impedance and stray currents, what we already discussed, through the patient cables or instruments with floating inputs, capacitive and inductive coupling. So the capacitive and inductive couplings are again the sources of power line interference, because we know the capacitance and the inductance, it passes the AC frequency. So 50 Hz and 60 Hz frequency, it will easily pass through the capacitive and inductive coupling, and because of that it will generate this power line interference on ECG and EEG recordings. Typically high frequency noise is contributed by capacitive coupling, and inductive coupling introduces low frequency noise. Because the inductive coupling, it will filter out high frequency signal. So the inductive coupling, it is more prone to low frequency noise. Whereas the capacitive coupling has tendency of filtering low frequency. So that means capacitive coupling, it is more it will be more dominant in case of high frequencies, and inductive coupling it will be more dominant. The noise due to inductive coupling, it will be more dominant in case of low frequency. Okay, so this was about the power line interference. Now the next type of persistent noise, it is the baseline wander. So as I discussed earlier, baseline wander means the average or the DC level of the ECG waveform that shifts. Okay, for example, if you see in the graph, this is the perfect DC level of the graph. This red line, what you see here, this is the DC level of the graph, right? But because of certain interference, the DC level keeps on shifting, and that's why you can see the ECG waveform here, whose DC level, or we call it as the baseline wander. That means the variation in the baseline. So this type of noise called as baseline wander. Okay. Now the reasons for this baseline wander are electrode skin impedance, patient's movements, and breathing of the patients, which cause baseline wander. Because while carrying out measurements, ECG measurements, there will be movement of the patient's body, and the patient is breathing, and usually the ECG electrodes, as we have seen earlier, these are connected on the chest. Okay, so when the person is breathing, there will be little movement of the chest, and it gives rise to this baseline wander. Baseline wander disturbance is especially dominant in case of ECG, electrocardiograph, and in ambulatory monitoring. In the ambulance, if the patient is being carried in the ambulance, there are more chances of getting this baseline wander noise. The range of frequency in which baseline wander is dominant is typically less than 1 Hz. Usually it is a low frequency signal because it is the average value. However, for exercise ECG, this range can be wider. Exercise ECG means if you are taking ECG of the person while the person is carrying out exercise. So in that case, again the possibility of this baseline wander, it is more. The frequency range can be more. It is also produced because of changes in electrode skin polarization voltages, electrode movement, respiratory muscular movement, and body movement. Then the next type of noise, it is electromyography noise. Earlier we have seen what do we mean by EMG. So EMG stands for electromyography. So electromyography means it is the measurement of the electrical signal related to our muscles. Okay. Now what happens when we are measuring ECG signal? The ECG signal we have seen, it is something like this. So this ECG signal, it will get superimposed because by the electromyograph signal. That means the muscle, the signals which are produced because of the muscles, right? Now as we have seen earlier, when the ECG measurement is being taken, the person, there is a possibility that there may be little movement of the muscles of the person, either chest muscles or any other muscles. So the movement of the muscles produces some electric signal, and that electric signal, it is actually the EMG. But that EMG signal, it gets superimposed on ECG. So for ECG signal, EMG is actually a noise. Okay, and it may give some wrong signals. So it should be removed. So the contraction of the muscles besides the heart contributes to the EMG noise, right? Now when the pumping action of the heart it is going on, the heart is regularly contracting and expanding. Okay, so heart has its own muscles, and because of this contraction and expansion of the heart muscles, it will generate some signal. We call it as electromyograph signal, EMG. EMG, that is the muscle signal because of the contraction and expansion of heart muscles, and that signal it will get superimposed on the ECG, and that is not desired. When other muscles in the vicinity of the electrodes contract, generation of depolarization and repolarization waves takes place, and these waves are picked up by ECG. Okay, so this we have seen in unit number 1. Muscles, when other muscles in the vicinity of the electrodes contract, we generate depolarization, repolarization, that is EMG signals, and which is picked up by ECG. The electrical activity of muscles during the periods of contraction can generate the surface potentials comparable to those from the heart and could completely drown out the desired signal. So the electrical activity of the heart, this can totally disturb our ECG signal if it is not removed. So EMG noise is common in subjects with uncontrollable tremor, disabled persons, kids, and persons non-habitual of the ECG procedure. Okay, so this EMG noise, it will be particularly higher in case of persons who do not remain steady while taking out ECG measurements, or there is not cooperation by the patient. So there are lot of movements taking place, muscle movements taking place by the patient. Then in that case, the amount of this EMG noise, it will be more. So this happens with the persons with uncontrollable tremor, persons with some disabilities, or kids, or persons who do not have a habit of using ECGs, connecting ECG electrodes on the chest. So in that case, the possibility of EMG noise, it is more. So it was about EMG noise. So what we discussed, the 3 types of persistent noises. So the first persistent noise, that is power line interference. Second persistent noise, the baseline wander, and the third persistent noise, it is because of EMG, that is electromyography noise. Now next we will discuss the burst noise, which occurs in the form of burst. So that's why the name is given as burst noise. So the first type of noise in this category, it is the electrode pop-up or contact noise. Position of the heart with respect to the electrodes and changes in the propagation of medium between the heart and the electrodes initiate the electrode contact noise. Right. So whenever the electrode is connected to the heart, or while taking ECG measurements, if there are some connections and disconnections, that means any contact problems, then in that case this burst noise will be found. So this causes sudden changes in the amplitude of ECG signal and low frequency baseline shifts. In addition, poor conductivity between the electrodes and the skin. So another cause for this burst noise is poor conductivity between the electrodes and the skin. This reduces the amplitude of the ECG signal and thereby increases the probability of disturbance by reducing the signal to noise ratio. Okay. So as you can see here, mainly the reasons for this burst noise is the electrodes, contact of the electrodes with the skin. So those problems give rise to this burst noise. Baseline disturbances are caused by electrode skin impedance variation. So that we have discussed earlier. Larger the electrode skin impedance, smaller are the relative impedance changes. If the skin impedance is significantly high, it might be impossible to detect the signal features reliably in the presence of body movement. Okay. Now this skin impedance, it is assumed to be low. It should be low for better measurement. Okay. But again, this skin impedance, it is the characteristics of the person. So person to person, the skin impedance can vary. So with the persons having more skin impedance, the possibility of this type of noise, it is more. Sudden changes in the skin electrode impedance cause sharp baseline wanders, baseline transients. So suddenly the baseline can move up or down because of the sudden changes in the skin electrode impedance. There are various techniques to reduce this skin electrode impedance. The different types of jellies are used. So that I think we have discussed in case of the electrode topic in the first unit. Okay. Amplitude of the initial transition and the time constant of the decay are the major characteristics of such noise. Then the next type of burst noise is patient electrode motion artifact. So as the name indicates, electrode motion artifact. So if there is a motion of the patient, then because of this motion it will produce some noise. That is this type of noise. So motion artifacts are baseline changes which are caused by electrode motion. Usually vibrations or movement or respiration of the subject contribute to motion artifacts. This subject means, in medical field, subject means the person under test. So that is the terminology. You will have to become familiar. So movement or respiration of the patient, or if there are any vibrations in the ambulance, it gives rise to this type of noise. The peak amplitude and the duration of the artifact depend on unknown quantities such as electrode properties. So this noise depends on electrode properties, electrolyte properties, the jellies what we use. Electrolyte means the jellies what we use to reduce the impedance. Then skin impedance and the movement of the patient. So these are the causes, these are the factors which decide the peak amplitude and duration of this type of noise. In ECG signal, the baseline changes occur at low frequency, that is around 0.014 Hertz, and most likely results from very slow changes in the skin electrode impedance. Now this type of noise can be observed on some equipments like the power spectrum, Fourier power spectrum. Then the next type of burst noise, it is instrumentation noise. So as the name indicates, instrumentation noise, that means it is because of some electrical equipment. It is because of some electrical equipment which is used in ECG measurements or electrode probes, cables, signal processors or amplifiers, and A to D converters. So these equipments are maybe sources of this burst noise. It can be reduced through higher quality equipment and careful circuit design. So it is the task of electronics engineer to reduce this instrumentation noise while designing the equipments and the circuits. So one type of electrical noise is register thermal noise called as the Johnson noise. So you might have studied in electronic communication, our registers, when the current passes through the register, it produces noise called as the thermal noise. It is produced because of the random fluctuations of the electrons due to thermal agitation. This is the cause of this burst noise called as the instrumentation noise. Another form of noise called as the flicker noise. And it is usually due to its low frequency. So the actual mechanism that causes this type of noise is not understood, but it is widely accepted theory that it is caused by energy traps which occur between the interfaces of two materials. So some energy is trapped within the interface of two materials, and that may give rise to this instrumentation noise. The charge carriers get randomly trapped or released and cause flicker noise. Flicker noise contributions would be most noticeable at the electrodes, since the amplitude of the detected signal is in the order of millivolts. So the detected signal, it is, the action potential which is generated in the body, its range is in few millivolts. Okay, and this flicker noise is also in the similar range. So that's why it can affect the signal. So what we have discussed, it was different types of noises in case of ECG signal, the persistent noise and different types of burst noises. Now let us discuss the types of noise which occur while carrying measurement of EEG signal. So EEG signal means it is related to the brain, electroencephalograph. Okay. So this is what you see graph here. This is the typical waveform of a EEG signal for the normal person. And usually the frequency is a low frequency only, few hertz. Okay. So we'll see what are different types of sources which can corrupt this EEG signal. Sources of noise which can corrupt this EEG signal. Okay. So the first one, it is the eye blink artifact. Okay. So when this usually for measurement of EEG, the electrodes are connected on because the measurements are to be carried out from the brain. So the electrodes are connected on the top of the head at different positions. So those we'll see in detail in the next unit. Okay. So when the eye blinking takes place, this type of, because when the eye is blinking, there is a muscle movement of the eye. Okay. And because of that, some electrical signal will be produced. So what you see in this diagram, this is the eye blink signal, and this one, it is the regular EEG signal. This is EEG, and this is the sudden when you are blinking eyes, suddenly there will be peak of that electrical signal in the EEG. So it is very common in EEG data that produces high amplitude signal that can be many times greater than EEG signals. So what you can see in this diagram also, there is a sudden peak because of EEG, because of this eye blink artifact. Because of its high amplitude, and eye blink can corrupt data on all the electrodes, even those at the back of the head. So eye artifacts are often measured more directly in the electrooculogram. So electrooculogram, it is a technique of measuring the electrical signal related to the eye movements, where the pair of electrodes are placed around our eyes. Then the next type of EEG artifact, it is because of the eye movement. Okay. So again, what you see here, this is the EEG signal and these two disturbances what you see here, these are because of the eye movement. So these are the artifacts caused by reorientation of the retinocorneal dipole. The effect of this artifact is stronger than that of the eye blink artifacts. Eye blinks and movements often occur at close intervals, right? Because the eye blinking, it is a natural thing which happens at regular intervals. So the patient or the subject is blinking eye. So this is first time he is blinking, his second time he or she is blinking eye. So like this type of eye movement signals, they will keep on occurring here. Then the line noise, that is a 50 Hz line frequency noise, that will also get superimposed on this EEG signal, what you can see in this diagram. So that is same as power line interference what we have discussed in EEG. So strong signals from AC power supplies can corrupt EEG signal during transfer from the scalp electrodes to the recording machine. Right. Now usually this signal, the line noise signal, it is having the same one single frequency. If it is if the supply frequency is 50 Hz, then it will be a 50 Hz frequency noise. If the supply frequency is 60 Hz, it can be a 60 Hz frequency noise. So it can be easily removed by using notch filters. Okay. In DSP you might have seen notch filters are the filters which suppress one particular frequency. So notch filter, it will have typically this type of characteristics. So all frequencies are passed and one particular frequency which is called as the notch. So that particular frequency is suppressed. And this frequency may be 50 Hz. If your supply line frequency is 50 Hz, you can design the notch filter to suppress 50 Hz noise. So this is how it can be removed. Then the muscle activities also produce some electrical signal, and that electrical signal can be a noise in case of EEG signal. So these are the artifacts caused by activity in different muscle groups such as neck muscles and the facial muscles. So neck muscles and the facial muscles, these are the major sources of this type of noise. So these signals have a wide frequency range and can be distributed across different sets of electrodes depending on the location of the source muscles. So the frequency range of this type of noise, it is wide and it depends on the location of the source muscles. So this is the noise in the EEG signal because of muscle activity. Then next type of noise artifact in EEG signal, it is the pulse artifact. So this pulse artifact, it is because of the heart pulses. Okay, so when an electrode is placed on or near to a blood vessel, now this blood vessel continuously it will contract or expand as per the beating of the heart. So it causes pulse or heartbeat artifact, because the expansion and contraction of the vessels, blood vessels, introduce voltage changes into the recordings. So the artifact signal frequency is around 1.2 Hz and can vary with the state of the object. This artifact can appear as a sharp spike or smooth wave. So this figure indicates the pulse artifact which is superimposed on the original EEG signal. And from person to person, this type of artifact can vary. As it is mentioned here, it can vary with the state of the object. Okay, so this is about the different types of artifacts or the noises which are produced while carrying out measurements for ECG signal and the EEG signal. So this is actually this topic, this is from unit number 1, but at that time I forgot to cover this topic, so that's why I have covered it today. So this completes our unit number 1 as well as unit number 2. In the next lecture, that is tomorrow, we'll start the next unit. So in the next unit, it is about the nervous system. So in that case, we'll see what is the nervous system, what do we mean by neurons, dendrites, axons, and so on, what is the structure of the brain, how the signal propagates in case of nerves, nerve fibers, and how the EEG signal is measured, how the EEG means electroencephalography, because the brain is also part of the nervous system. So the electrical signals what we have seen produced because of the brain, we call it as EEG, electroencephalograph. So in our syllabus we'll see what are the different techniques to carry out measurements of these EEG signals, what are the electrode positions for this EEG signal, standard electrode positions, and the characteristics of this EEG signals. So that is all what we are going to discuss in next unit, that is unit number 3.